Hello, my lovely slow living friends. Today I thought I'd drop on to do a little bit of a chat about the first few weeks following birth, a time that is known as the fourth trimester. You might not have heard that terminology before, but it's based on the fact that pregnancy has 3 trimesters, each lasting for about 3 months. And then the 3 months following birth, a time when a baby is just a little newborn, incredibly vulnerable and very needy. And that intensity of those first few weeks, those first 3 months, can sometimes come as a surprise and even a shock to new parents as they try and negotiate this new life with this little person, getting to know them and making that adjustment to having a new baby in the house and becoming new parents. So I wanted to chat a little bit today about what to expect in those first few weeks and months. As you might know, one of the things that I feel really passionate about is the importance of planning for your postpartum, of being able to understand and account for what might happen, some of the challenges that might arise, and how to mitigate for things like exhaustion and overwhelm and stress by being well prepared. And one of the things I feel is really important is to understand what new babies are like in those first few weeks and to really have to prepare for that by surrounding yourself by love and support of others so that you can be there to address all of your baby's needs. I find often that new parents are really left completely overwhelmed because they didn't prepare or plan for the fourth trimester, and they didn't have any idea of how much it would take to care for a little newborn baby 24/7. So I just want to go over 2 or 3 or 4 points about what to expect from your newborn. What is normal newborn behavior in those first few weeks? Before we get on to that though, I want you to have a little visualization, imagining what it must be like for a baby in the womb. You can imagine that the womb is dark and warm all of the time. Plus, your baby is being moved around as you walk and as you turn over in your sleep. There's that constant movement as babies are being rocked in their womb space. The womb is also quite noisy, right? You've got the sound of the heartbeat, mother's heartbeat. You've got the sound of all the digestion going on. And even your baby can hear voices around them when they're in the womb. So they will get to know the voice, your voice, and also your partner's voice, or anybody happens to be around and talking or laughing. They'll recognize those voices when they come out, which is really cool. So the womb is warm, it's noisy, it's constantly moving, and there's a constant supply of food as well. So your baby is never uncomfortable, never hungry. What a huge transition when baby makes their journey earthside. All of a sudden, from that warm, dark, noisy space where every need is met, they're in a space which is full of bright light, which is full of louder noises, which is a lot colder, and where they can suddenly experience sensations such as hunger, discomfort, scratchiness, itchiness, unknown people, faces, all of those things. It must be such a huge shock for babies to come into the world. But to come into the world they must, because the fourth trimester is actually when a lot of this brain development happens in the neocortex of the brain. That's why they think that babies come out of the womb a little bit earlier than other mammals. They used to think it was because humans stood upright and our pelvises were quite narrow, but that theory has actually been disproved now. And we think it's because babies need to come out of the womb a little bit earlier than other mammals so that their neocortex can develop in a place which really has a lot of social stimulation, language and things to look at and things to hear. So that's really important for babies. But in those first few weeks, it can also be very overwhelming. So it is completely normal for your baby to want to experience the world as it was in the womb. It is very normal for newborn babies in those first few weeks to want to be in close contact with their caregivers, almost skin to skin. In fact, being skin to skin with your new baby is one of the loveliest things to do to make them feel safe and to reduce their stress levels. When we place our newborn baby on our body skin to skin and either breastfeed them or cuddle them, it helps their cortisol levels reduce, and it helps any stress hormones in their bodies decrease as well. It makes them feel safe. So your baby will want to be connected to you or some other physical body, and sometimes it can be pretty much 24/7. Newborn babies don't like to sleep on their own because they're not used to being on their own. And on an evolutionary level, it is incredibly dangerous for newborn babies to be left by themselves. There could be cave wolves around, there could be predators. So they need to make sure that not somebody is close. Sometimes my clients say to me, I can't put my baby down. They won't sleep by themselves. They only want to be sleeping on me or someone else. And I have to reassure them that that is completely normal. It is also safe to sleep with your baby, to bed share or to co-sleep, as long as you're following the bed sharing or co-sleeping guidelines. And I'll put a link in the notes about those guidelines, how to sleep or share a bed safely with your baby, because sometimes that's the only way that both of you are going to get a decent amount of sleep. So knowing that your baby needing close connection is normal rather than needy is really important. A sling or a wrap is a huge benefit over this time. Babies will sleep contentedly when they're wrapped and close to your body, which is how so many different indigenous cultures carry their babies around. So I'm a great fan of baby wearing, and again, following those safe baby wearing guidelines means that it is really a wonderful thing to do with your baby and gets both of you time. Your baby can rest, you can have 2 hands free to do other things. Your baby also will want often to feed. Whether you're breastfeeding or bottle feeding, your baby's ability to suck and to get nourishment from the breast or from milk in general is an important way to establish your breast milk supply in those first few weeks. Babies don't have a routine with regards to feeding. In the first 6 weeks, what they're trying to do is bring in the breast milk supply that they need. And so they will want to suck sometimes constantly, which is known as cluster feeding. It's normal, but it's also exhausting. So you will need other people around to look after you and to feed you and to nurture you and nourish you while you are sometimes almost constantly feeding your baby throughout the day and throughout the night. Little babies don't need to have their feeds spaced out in those first few weeks because, again, bringing in the breast milk supply is really important to them, but also remembering that sucking and being close to you and being on the breast is far more than just nourishment for a baby. It's a way for them to feel secure and safe. And that security and safety gives them such a gift when they're a newborn. So the more that we can respond to our baby's needs for security and safety and love and nurturing, the better. But again, make sure you've got others looking after you. Your baby, of course, remember we mentioned the movement and the sound. Quite often they don't like being still and quiet. It's important when they're having naps sometimes for them to be in your sling or being held in arms and being rocked. They might like to be being sung to. Sometimes white noise can be really useful as well for little babies. You can get a white noise on your phone or on a shusher, on a little toy that makes a noise, and find that actually babies sometimes nap in a room that is noisy rather than silent because they're used to that in the womb. So don't worry too much if your baby needs to be rocked, held and shushed to go to sleep. That's completely normal. It's just as they make their transition from womb to world. It will change. And finally, what to expect from your baby's sleep. Now, as you probably know, in those first few weeks, babies really don't know the difference between night and day. And that's because they haven't yet developed a circadian, what we know as a circadian rhythm. The circadian rhythm is that ability for our body to create melatonin, which is the sleep hormone in the evening, which makes us tired, and to wake us up in the daytime as the melatonin reduces when the sun comes up. Now, babies don't have this circadian rhythm in the first 3 to 4 months, and it takes time for it to develop. In the meantime, they receive their melatonin from breast milk, another amazing property of breast milk, which means that when they suckle on the breast, that's what makes them tired, which is why it's absolutely fine to feed your baby to sleep. That's exactly what breast milk is designed to do. It's designed to be a sedative for your baby. Slowly but surely, the melatonin levels begin to build up from being out in the sunshine during the day and getting lots of activity during the day and lots of stimulation, and having a quiet, calm space at night to go to sleep in darkness. But again, this takes weeks and sometimes months for babies to develop. So in the meantime, you will be probably parenting 24/7. Your baby will need you to respond to them, to feed them, to comfort them all the way through the day and all the way through the night. And that can sometimes be quite exhausting for new parents. Again, this is why I feel it is so important to gather support around you. Being a good parent 24/7 on call is too many jobs for one person or even two people. You will need a village to hold and support you. Who will feed you? Who will care for you? Who will look after other children and pets and all the household duties? Who can you delegate to in those first few exhausting weeks and months when your baby will need you to respond to them 24/7? It's normal for babies to do this. It's healthy for parents to respond to newborn babies in this way, but we can't do it alone. We need to build a community around us, and that's part of my work as a postpartum maternal care specialist, to care for new families in the postpartum and to help them to build those support systems in preparation for this amazing yet intense time known as the fourth trimester. So I hope some of those tips will allow you to feel reassured that your baby is normal when they want to be held and fed and rocked and nurtured and nourished all the time. But I also hope that it helps you know that you deserve care, attention and support over those weeks as well. And if you would like any more advice, or you'd like my support or guidance on how to plan your slow postpartum, you can visit my website, check out my online course, The Art of Slow Postpartum, or reach out to me to see if I can support you virtually or in person to have the postpartum of your dreams with your new baby. And I look forward to talking to you again soon.